Hey friends, welcome to the river. Hope this finds you well. I've recently been reading around the topic of the polymath. Really fascinating. If you don't know what the polymath is, it's an individual that has expertise in multiple disciplines. And interestingly, historically, the polymath was seen as the way to learn, as the root of wisdom in many ways. They were the revered teachers, those that could speak on many things. And even in our more modern history, when we think of certain individuals that have provided maybe a springboard in a learning and understanding of a topic, and they've been remembered for that thing. Actually, behind the scenes, they've been much more of a polymath, much more as what we call now a generalist. This is kind of normally a negative reference, but they have been generalists. But it's almost like our culture needs to have niche, focused strengths, and those to be celebrated. And maybe there's nothing wrong with that, but I wonder if there's something about as we gain in understanding and knowledge, and as we gain in wisdom as a people, that we've lost that ability to be polymaths. And at Renew, as we consider what it means to exercise holistically, we are very much thinking in this whole perspective of how we use our bodies, not just becoming experts in one particular movement or activity. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but there's something quite powerful about being, as the ancient Chinese used to say, all-sided. Are we all-sided in our physicality as well as our learning? So there are some natural trades, I guess, or professions that lend themselves to the generalist or the polymath. So thinking of, maybe primary school teachers, GP doctors, maybe maintenance contractors, where they're having to know the discipline of many trades. These type of professions, and there'll be others, lend themselves almost naturally to somebody who has an instinct to be more all-sided. What I think is important is that because in our current culture the generalist is normally overlooked, we look at in a sporting context, the decathlete is probably the ultimate polymath, physical polymath. When you look at the stats of what these athletes can achieve in all of those 10 disciplines, it's quite remarkable. If you look at the specialists in those areas, those disciplines, they're often very close behind. In fact, if probably in a more kind of localized competition, say their national championships, they probably would be in the first 2 or 3, which is unbelievable. But you go to an event, even the Olympics, maybe the Olympics is slightly different, but the amount of attention or profile that the decathletes get is minimal. They're almost overlooked. Go to competitions outside of the Olympics and it's a tiny crowd. These athletes are quite remarkable. But what they do, and this is where the learning, I think, comes into other disciplines, when we talk about other insights of being all-sided. When they train, you can't train for every single discipline individually like a specialist would. So you have to see where the bridges are, what the crossover movements are. So this is the gift of the decathlete, the gift of the polymath. When they study one subject, they bring a bridge to another subject. And they're able to apply that same understanding, that same technique, that same training to the whole. So at Renew, there's a similar vibe going on there. We train very holistically. We train speed endurance, both in our lower limbs and our upper limbs equally. We train strength endurance, so we're training all these disciplines together. We're crossing over, bringing that understanding of what it means to perform in different movements into one exercise. It seems maybe a bit too good to be true, but there's something very powerful about the way that we train at Renew. It's about being in community, about being holistic, being present, being mindful, being prayerful, bringing your spirituality into your movements, and then the movements themselves being really kind of that the foundation of all strength and speed. So you can take those into other disciplines and become, for a season, a specialist. So let's build those bridges between different disciplines. Let's know our places as generalists when that is the right thing to be. Let's celebrate the polymath and take that learning into everyday life. Peace and love, friends.